Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be headed down towards the Port of San Isidro. And like I mentioned in other videos, certain teams, certain agents go out. That it would be called pre-primary regarding the inspection and the overlook of the actual traffic that's coming towards the actual booth. So beforehand, there are certain agents that actually have the talent of actually literally sniffing out contraband, and uh, and it's all done by body language, your body language. And this particular agent, he's quite famous. He's been in a couple of news articles, published news articles, pretty big articles on his talents. He is he's not afraid to show his face. He is not afraid to show it to tell you his name. And according to this article, this actual he used to be a teacher, I think a high school teacher. So he pretty much could read a lot of body language, a lot of reactions, and I'm pretty sure he's retired now. But anyways, if you look good enough, you can find these articles in the San Diego Union Tribune. And this particular agent, he was short in stature. Uh, sometimes actually associate, sometimes not with canines, but all he needed was his long screwdriver and his common sense, And he would go out there and he would just scan the duration, the weight of the actual line, the actual people waiting to cross that actual threshold coming to the United States. And this particular afternoon, it was a sunny afternoon, two females in a little Suzuki rodeo. Uh, and this uh, particular two females, they were in their 20s. It was summertime, so they were showing a little bit of cleavage, not just to put it out there, you know what I mean? A little distraction in case they do come up to a male or even a female inspector at the booth, get a little distraction, try to keep the heat off of them. But there was no fooling this sexual inspector, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that you could not fool him, but if somebody was going to get you just without a canine, it would be him. And he zoned on these two particular females. I don't know what their reaction was. I don't know how their body language was, but I'm pretty sure that they jerked as they as he got closer. They probably jerked and caught him off surprise. And as he is speaking to the actual driver, uh, they were already committed to the lanes. When I say committed, they cannot go either way, left or right or reverse. They couldn't back out, so they're pretty much trapped inside the actual the confinement, the compound. Uh, and be aware that the actual U.S. Line, the territory line, is way before the actual booth. So you've actually crossed into the U.S. before you even hit that booth. You're already on U.S. property, U.S. soil. So, and that's done on purpose. So this actual agent went out there, started a conversation with the actual driver, and these particular two individuals were short, and they were picked to be short on purpose from the actual organization sending them through. And as you can see in the illustration, there was a what they would call a lower roof. A lower roof means a drop roof where the actual roof of the actual vehicle is dropped a few inches, just enough to actually squeeze in some small packages. And when they put small packages, that means it's going to be quality contraband, not quantity, quality. And so they make these compartments airtight, and they drop the roof just enough, and with the upholstery to cover the whole actual probably cylinder, a small cylinder, and then they'll have an axis. They'll have an axis cap to the actual cylinder, and this particular group actually chose to tie down their actual small packaging. So the inspector knows that there's a lower roof, which at that point uh, they haven't found anything. They haven't not actually seized anything. It is all circumstantial. So therefore, they're gonna most likely hook them up so they don't run on you down south. So they have a hard time actually getting a nice stride. You know what I mean? Where an uncuffed person can just at any moment can just run down south and escape into Tijuana. You know what I mean? And that would happen a lot. You know, that would happen quite often too. A lot of abandoned vehicles will get left, you know, in the middle of the actual line, and they would take the keys with them. They would take the keys with them, so we'd have to push it past the actual inspector booth and into our inspection area and secondary. So yeah, they would actually run back with their actual keys in hand. And so there we are trying to, you know, trying to hotwire it or whatever, just, you know, kind of break the actual the drive shaft just to make it enough just to go into park, you know what I mean? Into drive, I mean, into neutral, I should say into neutral. So so that was one of their tactics there. So after they hook up these particular two females in their 20s, so if you figure it out, this was about 25 years ago, maybe. So they've they've if they actually did get the actual 20-year prison term, they've actually done their actual federal prison term, and and they should be already out, not unless they got 25 or above. But I hardly doubt that. He was easily between 15 and 20 years for this particular crime. So as soon as they get this vehicle down to secondary, and they secure the females in our actual pat down room, in our waiting room, in one of our offices. Uh, the gig is up. So along the actual bridge to cross into the actual freeway, you have your scouts, you have your taxi cab drivers with binoculars, and they're actually seeing this all play out. So they've already called it in that load was busted, and they read it off, and they cut all ties. They cut all ties with these actual females, and they hope for the best that they didn't actually spill the beans. And the majority of these actual smugglers, actual mules, they don't know much. They don't know much because these guys are very, very careful. They don't actually show off their actual how they do their actual work, how they actually operate. It's all done behind closed doors. It is a privileged information, so therefore, and you say, well, maybe one of these was a girlfriend of one of the actual smugglers. No, 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 that does not happen. A smuggler would not allow his girlfriend to actually be involved in such a thing like that. Maybe a side chick. I'm not saying that. Maybe a side chick string along, whatever, you know, a little side deal, but an actual wife, an actual girlfriend or fiance. No, no, no. You got to disassociate that stuff. You got to separate that business with pleasure. And you have to do that because you don't want to have your family members or your wife or your spouse know too much about you, too much about the business that it can actually get you both hurt, you know. And these particular females, I really don't know how much info they gave up or how much they actually knew, but it was determined that these little bundles were actually heroin. So they'll tie these actual bundles down, they'll shoot them to the back, they'll stuff them in there, and when it comes to retrieving the actual packages, they'll just pull the strings, and here come along this package. And by that time they already had called a special agent from upstairs. He came down, take actual possession of the actual load, finds out what it is. It ended up being black tar heroin. So obviously, there's nothing to actually pursue. There's nothing to actually follow up. There's no chase vehicles. There's no tail vehicles. There's no let's try to get this organization now. It's pretty much written off, and they'll hand it over to a regular agent, and they'll process that in actual individual load and in accordance to protocol to the actual to the port. And that's just another way of actually of how this type of a load comes through in small bundles, small packages. Real simple, but unfortunately, this particular inspector was out and about that afternoon, and that was actually their bad luck. If there was no canine available, if it would have been just gone through a regular inspector, he probably wouldn't have actually alerted to that area. First of the fact that these girls were short in stature, the actual seats were lowered. Just take out a couple of washers from the actual seat board, from the seat connection to the board, and you lower yourself quite a bit. And they were short, so that way the roof didn't look that out of place, that out of whack. You know what I mean? And but this inspector pulled her ticket, and there's gonna be a part two to this, and what happened to me and a dear friend of mine, a very good friend, female inspector, older lady. She was about 15 years older than me, but she could hang with the best of them, man. And then I really enjoyed working with her. And what they did to us was just dirty, just plain dirty. So it's gonna be a part two to this, guys. Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe.